Hello and welcome back to the channel for another video. It's around this time of year that I like to do videos to help parents with their child starting school in different year groups. And I like to do a year group expectation video for all the primary years from 1 up to year 5, maybe year 6, but I do a lot of year 6 videos anyway. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the expectations for children who are going into year 1 so that you have some useful information about how you can help your child succeed and their year 1 journey. So first of all, let's start with reading, because this is probably the most important aspect of the children's primary journey. The children in year 1 will be developing their fluency. They'll be learning more about phonics, how to decode words they don't understand. They start to be able to read tricky words. These are words that you can't decode and sound out, you just have to know. To discuss new books that they like to read and enjoy. You might have a selection of books that you read regularly with your child. You start practicing those basic comprehension skills, so being able to answer questions about the book. But it's important that they enjoy a range of books. So at home, listening to your child read daily for 10 minutes is really important. Longer if possible, before bedtime is a good time to do this. Read stories aloud to show expression and fluency, so they're not just reading to you, you're reading to them as a good model. And ask them questions about the story and talk about their favourite characters and why they like it. Another key part of year 1 is they start to learn phonics a little bit more. They will have started doing this in reception, but it really becomes important in year 1 to help them develop their reading. But also, you've got the year 1 phonics screening, which is at the end of year 1. This year, Monday the 8th of June 2026. So it looks a little bit like this. The children will do it alongside the teacher. They don't sit it on their own. And the teacher will be really supportive. They are allowed to draw on the book. They're allowed to put something called sound buttons on there. And this is sort of a quick look inside. You have some simple words. If they have an alien next to them, it means that they are nonsense words, but the children still have to use their phonics to sound them out. So n, op, nop, y, im, yim. Then the words get progressively more difficult as you go through it. Ed, fled, ramp. Now, if they were to sound it out correctly, but then what's called blend it incorrectly, they wouldn't get a tick for that word. So if I said and then said rump, then that wouldn't be correct. Or if I said k or ns, but then the child would say cans, then that wouldn't be correct. So they have to be able to blend it correctly. Similarly, if they said k or k-a-ns, and then they said corns, then that would still be a correct answer. So this is how it would look from the teacher's perspective. They would have all the words here, then they would tick if it was correct, if the child read it correctly, or tick if it was incorrect, if they made a mistake. They might put a comment as well saying what the mistake was or what they struggled with. And to get a pass and to reach the expected standard with their phonics screening in year 1, the children have to read 32 out of the 40 words correctly, which means they can get no more than 8 incorrect. And you can see here, it sort of starts with quite easy words, and then as it goes on, it gets a bit more tricky with some of the most difficult words being words like dolphin, crackers, shrimp. Quite difficult sounds there that the children would need to be able to say. So moving on to other parts of reading for year 1. I've kind of talked about this a little bit already, but the children would read a range of texts. Fairy stories, traditional tales is important. Discussing words in the books. Can they tell you what those words mean? They might talk about poems. It's important that they talk about, if it's a book about going on a bus, have they ever been on a bus before? Or if it's about a farm, have they ever been to a farm before? Or about the beach? So alongside learning to read, it's important that children get a good range of life experiences. Because if there's a book about the beach and they've never been to the beach before, it makes it difficult for them to understand some of the context in there. Some examples of some good books for year 1. These are ones that I know that they read in school and they'll learn about. The Bog Baby is a really nice story. Beagoo is another good one. All the Julia Donaldson stories are great, really good for learning sounds, rhyme and rhythm. Wild is also a really nice story. So I've worked with year 1 children before, and I've used these stories to help them with their reading and writing, and they're really nice. Alongside just getting an experience of books and learning to be more fluent and decode phonics, there are something called tricky words, or common exception words as they're known in the curriculum. These are words that the children wouldn't be able to sound out. They just need to be able to recognize. So reading them regularly, and in year 1 they need to be able to read all of these words. So these are words like school, friend, where and were, push, they, said. So these are what's called the year 1 common exception words. They need to be able to read and write these. So let's move on to writing. Now, year one writing is, it's still at the beginning of their writing journey. So we're not expecting them to have perfect handwriting and be able to write pages and pages, certainly not. But they can write simple sentences. They can start to use capital letters. They use finger spaces between their words, and they're using full stops. They start to begin to think about question and exclamation marks and where you would put those, but not using them completely correctly yet. And then any words they don't know how to spell, they're using their phonics to decode them. And they can use their phonics sounds. The word might not necessarily be spelled correctly, but it sounds correct. Okay, and that's fine for year one writing. You can make writing fun. You can write shopping lists together, birthday cards, diaries, practice handwriting to help them sound out words when spelling. So it's really important that you don't turn children off writing and they write things that they enjoy. They see writing as an enjoyable thing. So again, in year one, they need to be able to spell all of these words correctly as well as read them. That's in the national curriculum. And here's the national curriculum, specifically what it says online. So the children are able to name the letters of the alphabet. Okay, there you can see them. And they're able to distinguish between alternative spellings of the same sound. They know the upper and lower case of each of these letters, so knowing what a capital letter looks like and what a small case looks like is important. They know how to add S to the ends of words to make them plural, and they can use particular suffixes and prefixes, so adding ing to words, adding ed to words, er, words like helping, helped, helper, eating, quicker, quickest. So they're able to start to use those words in their writing. Handwriting, it's important that I know children at this age, they do struggle to stay still for long periods, and they shouldn't be made to sit at desks for long periods, but when they do sit, to encourage proper handwriting, they need to sit correctly at the table, holding the pencil in what's called a tripod grip with 2 fingers and a thumb. If you're not sure what that is, just have a look on Google. Really important that they get pencil grip correctly in year one so they don't build up bad habits. They can start to form their letters from the correct place in the correct direction. They can make sure that they can form capital letters, and they can write the digits from 0 to 9. Common mistakes they might make is the 9 is the wrong way around because they're confused with the letter P. Some of their capital letters are either underneath the line or they're not standing on the line. Some of their letters like G or Q are not going underneath the line. So these are the things that I normally see and try to pick up and help year one children with their handwriting. When writing, they should be able to say their sentence before they write it. It shouldn't just be copying. So it's also about them coming up with their own ideas. I like to say that you think your sentence, you say your sentence, you write your sentence, and then you check your sentence. You do those 4 things. Writing, basic things like sequencing, what did they do in their day, what happened in the story. That's basic sort of retelling for year one children. That's more things that I've spoken about already. So other things would be making sure they leave space between words. When writing the letter I on its own, it should be a capital, and those kinds of things also come up. So what does year one writing look like? Well, you're not expecting by the end of year one to have perfect handwriting, although it may be better than this. But you can see the capital letters, the full stops. The sentences are quite simple. And what teachers are looking for is at the end of year one, children can write 8 simple sentences with capital letters and full stops, mostly correct, with the odd conjunction in there, words like and, but, and so. They may even use commas to list here. You can see there was a spider, there was spider legs, comma, something, worms, fish, guts, blood, and eyes, eyeballs. Interesting. This is about the bog baby. The bog baby felt better. So you got your full stop, your capital letters. This is what year one writing should look like. There's another example. You can see this handwriting is a little bit more joined, and you can see the letters are starting from the line. We call this a lead-in. Okay, so they should start to try and write their letters from the line. And then there's a little bit more year one writing for you to see there. So that's kind of what the children are aiming for. It might be neater than this, might be less than neat than this, but you're looking for 8 sentences that make sense. Capital letters, full stops, a couple of conjunctions in there, maybe a question mark or an exclamation mark. That would be an expected piece of writing for year one. Moving on to maths. So maths in year one is very practical. They should be using lots of objects and things to help them count. They shouldn't be just sat there writing reams of sums. But here's what the curriculum says as a summary. Read and write numbers up to 100. Be able to add and subtract numbers to 20. So your number bonds to 20. Know what tens and ones are. to be able to count in 2s, 5s and 10s. They don't need to recall the times tables. That actually comes into year 2, although you can start it in year 1. But they should be able to count in 2s, 5s and 10s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 5, 10, 15, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Should be able to do that. And then they start looking at measurement as well. So let's go into a bit more detail. Number and place value. So count forwards and backwards from 100. Count up to 100 and backwards from 100 to 0. Counting in 10s, counting in 2s, 5s. Being able to say one more and one less. Being able to show what a number is. So in different representations, that means using something called deans. Being able to show it in a part-part whole model. Being able to show it with different types of equipment, counters, cubes, and be able to read and write the numbers up to 20. When adding and subtracting, they know what a simple addition and subtraction sum looks like. They know the symbols add, subtract, and equals. They know what numbers add up to 20, so 18 and 2, 17 and 3, 16 and 4, etc. And they can start to add 1-digit and 2-digit numbers to 20. So, as I've just explained, 10 and 8 is 18, 5 and 4 is 9, that kind of thing. Multiplication division is all about the 2s, 5s and 10s here. That's all they go up to, so they're not going to be learning the 3s, 4s and 8s in year 1. They need to be able to count 2s, 5s and 10s, and they'll start to answer questions using 2s, 5s and 10 timetables. Okay, but alongside that is pictures, counting orally, saying it to their teacher. It's not just writing reams and reams of sums. Then in fractions, they should be able to recognize a half, and they should be able to recognize a quarter, and be able to, color in a quarter, color in a half of a shape, divide something into quarters, share something into halves. You may even look at thirds as well, and 2/3 and 3/4 in year 1. Then we're moving on to sort of measurement. So in a very basic level in year 1, recognizing that a glass is full and empty, nearly full, half full, being able to say which objects are heavier or lighter than each other. And here's a breakdown of what the curriculum says. So knowing lengths and heights, long, shorter, tall, short, these are the kind of language they should be using. Heavier, lighter, lighter than, full, empty, more than, less than, half full, quarter full. Time, so quicker, slower, earlier, later. It's just those basic things. They will probably learn as well o'clock, so all the o'clock times and all the half-past times. And they might look at the different values of coins, although that's becoming less and less important now as money is used less. But it'll be linked to addition and subtraction, so add 5p and 10p together. They'll also learn words like after, next, first, today, yesterday, tomorrow, so they can sequence, and that's important in their writing. And as I said with time, hour, half past, they don't start learning quarter to or quarter past until year 2. With shape, they need to learn the 2D shapes. They'll start to get introduced these. Again, very practical, hands-on. So can they name 2D shapes? Can they say how many sides they've got? And then naming basic 3D shapes and examples of those around the home. So you could say, can they find any cylinders in the house, any cubes? That will be a good way to help them at home. Finally, position and direction. This is not as important as things like addition, subtraction, and place value, but they'll learn some vocabulary like left and right, up and down, quarter turn, half turn, forwards and backwards. They'll probably be introduced to clockwise and anti-clockwise, but they may not understand it fully by the end of year 1. And they'll probably use these fun things, which are called B-bots, which help them to use some of that language. Okay, so that was a summary of what the children will learn in year 1. I hope you found it useful. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos on primary education. Like I said, I'll be doing more videos like this. I'll be doing year 2, 3, 4, and 5. So watch out for those if your child is going into those year groups. I'll try to break down everything that should be covered to give you an understanding of how you can help your child. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one.